Good morning and welcome to Today in the News here in Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adewumi. I'll look into our newspapers for today, starting with Vanguard. Major headline on Vanguard says NNAMDI KANU, Abuja grounded as security men take gas protesters, residents angry, workers stranded, police barricade roads, Aso Villa under tight security amid protest. Police arrest Kanu's lawyer, brother. NUJ condemns assault, arrest of journalists, demand replacement of damaged tools. First headquarters defends use of tear gas to disperse protesters. Sanction Ejimako for role in protest. Presidency attacks legal regulatory bodies. Amnesty International condemns disruption of protest. Keeping Kano in DSS custody to die of his illness in Humane, Wodu tells federal government. Major story can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Southeast shut down in hashtag Free Kano protest. NLC gives federal government 4 weeks to resolve education sector crisis, says no pay, no work, as ASU, SSANU, NASU others unite for action. Unite to defeat the evil APC has become, Olawekpo Ashimi tells Nigerians. Okoye remains Ugenesis numero uno goalkeeper, says coach. Top banner, don't use coup plot to silence opposition, ADC warns federal government. We are shielding no Ali. EFCC recovered 500 billion naira in 2 years, says TINUBU. Emami false usage of Warri Kingdom by non-Ishekiri monarchs. And lastly, Nigeria's net domestic credit drops by 12.8% to 98.97 trillion naira. Away from the Vanguard, straight into the Punch newspaper. Major headline on the Punch says, hashtag Free NNAMDI KANU, protest wave eats Abuja, paralysis Southeast state, paralyzes Southeast state. Abuja protesters tear gassed, Villa fortified, federal workers bad, Southeast locked down. Top banner says Labour gives federal government 4 weeks to end varsity crisis. ADC warns against political witch hunt in coup pro. Lower banner, arraignment of Obi of Lagos, others stalled. Oshinubu honored by family, clergy, media giants at 70th birthday Thanksgiving. Away from the Punch, straight into the Nation newspaper. Major headline on the Nation says Constitution needs overhaul, not amendment, says Olanik Pekun. Top banner, police to arraign 8 arrested Free Kano protesters. EFCC recovers asset worth 500 billion naira in 2 years. 7,000 convictions secured. 12,983 Uni Lawrence students get 1.6 billion naira Nelford loan. FIRS RMAFC initiates recovery of Eden funds. Away from the Nation, straight into the Guardian newspaper. Major headline on the Guardian says, chaos as police disperse Abuja protesters. Southeast shuts down for Kanu. Teenager arrested for allegedly removing sister's eyes for money ritual. Hashtag EndSARS, police reforms linger as Nigerians demand justice 5 years after. Unions, NIMET workers vow aviation sector shut down today over poor wages. Nigeria needs new constitution, not amendment, Olanik Peku tells NAS. Resolve dispute with ASU or face nationwide strike, NLC warns federal government. And lastly, Nigeria under sustained attack from foreign propaganda, says federal government. That's all we have on the front page of our newspapers this morning. Join us after the break for a quick analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adewumi. With me in the studio today for a quick analysis is Mr. Dayo Akintobi. He's a publisher at Keja GRE today, Lekki today, Ilupeju today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ololade. Good morning, all our viewers. Good morning, Nigeria.
It's nice having you in our studio today.
Always a pleasure.
Not
bad. Good.
I look into a first story for today. A large-scale protest organized under the banner Free NNAMDI KANU Now took place in the nation's capital, Abuja, and aimed to demand the release of NNAMDI KANU, the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. The police, army, and intelligence operatives responded by deploying heavy checkpoints, blocking major access roads, and using tear gas and water cannons. How would you assess the security response to the protest? The use of tear gas, blocking major roads, and heavy checkpoints on the road. How would you assess this?
Well, the Constitution guarantees us as citizens the right to protest. So we already know that's sacrosanct. We must be allowed to protest if we want to, and it can't be stopped. Unless, of course, by a court order. And for a court to stop a protest, it's got to have a very viable reason. Now, I listened to the police PPRO yesterday on a television program, and he was asked the very same question you just asked me, and let me tell you what he had to say. He said the reason they mobilized so heavily was because there is a court order that said the protest can carry on, but it should not go to certain places, 3 Arm Zone, Aso Rock, Federal Secretariat. It listed some key flashpoints. It also said they should not go near any correctional facilities and things like that. And those restrictions were purportedly made out of security concerns, that every protest that we know in Nigeria generally gets hijacked one way or another, even if the organizers have noble intentions, that they just want to express their grievances and go home quietly. And some people will see that as an opportunity to unleash mayhem. So some people, some miscreants, some hoodlums will mix in the middle of innocent protesters, and they will hijack the protest and turn it violent, use it as an opportunity to exploit, to damage, to malign, to steal. So police, of course, has a duty of care. Number one, the protesters, even if they were not going to the areas that were restricted, the fact that they are on the road, they are impeding the movement of everyday Nigerians who are trying to go to work. And that's what the PPRO said yesterday, that the police response was because just as some people have a right to protest, other people have a right of free movement. So if your protest is blocking the road and stopping people from going about their normal daily activities, people want to go to work, the road is blocked because of protest. That is their duty to make sure that those law-abiding citizens that want to go about their normal daily business have the freedom to do so. That because you have a right to protest does not give you the right to encroach on the freedom of somebody else to go about his daily business normally. So that was why he said, first of all, they were obeying the court order by blocking the roads to the areas that were restricted. Then the person interviewing him said, but when you block the areas to the roads restricted, doesn't that affect the freedom of movement of the people?
Exactly.
And he said they created diversions, that there were detours that were clearly marked. That, okay, if you want to get to 3 Arm Zone, you can't go this way, but there's a roundabout route you can take to get there. That all the roads they blocked, there were alternative routes for people to take to get there. Then the interviewer now asked him, okay, we've been hearing about this court order. The organizer of the protest, Showore, said he's not been served the court order. We, the public, have not seen the court order. Can you expand on that? Which judge issued the court order? Where is a certified true copy of it? And I noticed that the PPRO kind of danced around that question. He said, well, they are aware of the court order. Perhaps the police lawyer was in the court. In fact, it was actually the police who applied for the ex parte order. So, of course, whatever ruling the judge gives, they will be aware of it. So he is claiming that they were obeying the court order that was validly issued by a court. We don't know the truth about that matter, but their response, he said they had to fire tear gas. He denied that there were any live bullets or even rubber bullets. He said all they used was tear gas. And the reason for tear gas was simply when it was getting to the point where crowd control was getting difficult, or maybe they wanted to breach the barriers they put up to inhibit movement to the restricted areas. And that tear gas generally is just a crowd dispersal mechanism. It's not fatal. It's to make your eyes pepper you for a while. The moment you move away from where the tear gas is, put some water in your eye, your eyes will clear. So that it's just a crowd dispersal mechanism. So that the police was actually quite restrained yesterday, that they did not abuse anyone, they did not harm anyone, that they were restrained in their response. And well, I wasn't there, but from what I saw on TV, I could see when the crowd scattered and had to run because they heard shots that sounded like gunshots. The PPRO said no, it wasn't gunshots, it was tear gas canisters being deployed. Fine. One thing I do know is that in developed countries, police their role in a protest is to allow the protest to happen. Their role in a protest is to protect the protesters and perhaps even stop miscreants and hoodlums from penetrating their midst. They are supposed to provide protection to the protesters. I'm not sure Nigerian police has got to that point just yet.
The court actually refused, a police motion to prevent this protest. Yet we can see that the security forces blocked roads and, dispersed crowds. What do you think this says about the state of Nigeria and our rule of law right now?
Well, the same way you are saying that a court refused to stop the protest, they are also saying that a court allowed the protest on a restricted basis. Whether it's the same court or two different courts, I don't know. But the police is claiming the moral ground on the grounds, or the legal ground, on the grounds that there is a court order that says the protest can hold, but it should not go to this area, and that they were just enforcing the court order. Now, I know that we've had some impunity to where court orders are disobeyed, but usually that is among either the lawmakers or the executive, because guess what? Who can enforce a court order for you? The court doesn't have its own army, does it? So generally it's the police that enforces court orders for whoever has received a court order, or whoever a court order affects. It's the police that can enforce it. They are the only ones that have the coercive apparatus of the state. Sometimes, yes, the army is called in, but really the army is for territorial defense of our territorial borders. So army doesn't involve itself in until this Boko Haram and terrorism issue. The army was really concerned with external aggression and trying to keep the territorial integrity of our borders. So enforcing court orders falls strictly in the purview of the police. So it cannot now be the enforcer who is now disobeying the court order. Then that makes nonsense of the whole notion of the rule of law. So I think that we're probably talking about the same court order. Probably the same court order that said we won't stop the protest. It is enshrined in the Constitution that is the right of every Nigerian to protest. So we can't stop the protest because it's a constitutional right, but we can put restrictions. And it is based on that restrictions that the police took advantage of the fact that you can't go here, you can't go here. Protest, but you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't. So the police is saying it is those things the court said protesters cannot do, the places you cannot go. That is what they were out there enforcing, not that they were trying to stop the protest at all.
You think this event in any way could spark some sort of, ripple effect in other states or regions?
Like NSAS? Well, NSAS was different from this because NSAS was a systemic issue where Nigerians all across the 36 states and the FCT were being victimized by police across board. So it was a problem for everybody. The NNAMDI KANU issue, to some extent, is also an issue for everybody in terms of liberty, in terms of human and civil rights, in terms of propriety of government action. But the actual impact, the immediate impact is his family, the members of his association, probably the region from which he is from. They're the ones more directly impacted. So a Nigerian, for example, in Kafanchan somewhere, may look at the NNAMDI KANU and say, it has nothing to do with the NNAMDI KANU issue. I say, it has nothing to do with me. So that person, a rural dweller in Potiskum somewhere, may say, why will I pick up myself and go and protest over something to those who came out even on the first day of NSAS? So this one has not galvanized the kind of public anger or the kind of Gen Z youth frustration that makes them pour out in numbers. This is more of a thing about those who understand justice, those who understand liberty, the rule of law, and legal precedent, legal procedure. So I'm not sure there's a social justice component as pressing as the NSAS in this case. So we may not see that same kind of fervor in this situation.
Would you say there should have been, or there is a better way for, to call for the release of NNAMDI KANU? Do you think protesters should have done something different?
Well, you see, the current administration inherited this problem. Remember, I didn't start here.
From
He's been in custody since I think 2021. So this is the fourth, going on the fifth year of his incarceration, and he was already taken to task by the President Buhari administration. And when the current administration inherited the situation, they looked at it, and I think their body language indicates that it's already a legal issue in the courts. Let it play out in the courts as opposed to us interfering, because we don't know the background. We were not involved in the beginning. We met an ongoing court situation. How can we now intersperse ourselves in the middle of something we know nothing about or we are not involved? So I think that what should really be happening is pushing for a speedy trial. I think it's unconscionable that somebody can be awaiting trial for 4+ years. Granted, I understand that some of the delays have been on the part of the defense, that some of it has been legal strategy on the part of his own lawyers, while other part of it has been on the prosecutorial side of things. But the bottom line is, already is unjust and is already a negative impact on the outcome of the trial, that he's been awaiting trial for 4+ years. That's saying justice delayed is justice denied. It's not just a trite statement. It's very deep in meaning, that if you've been subjected to incarceration for that long, it's a violation of your human, your civil, your legal, all kinds of rights. And I think that is the part people should have been pressing for, because NNAMDI KANU all along has claimed that he's not guilty of what he's charged of. So I believe, since his matter has defied political solution, because in the beginning, what was being pushed for was a political situation. Let us sit down at a table. What is it you want exactly? This agitation, what is it all about? How can we compromise and make it peaceful, win-win for both sides? They tried that, and I believe it didn't work. And so it has defied political settlement. So it looks like it's going to have to be settled in the courts. If that's the case, what should be pushed for is, let his trial start today, so that we can resolve it quickly and let it end. If he's not guilty, the court should acquit him, let him go home. That's the quickest way for him to go home, is for the trial to take place, let him be acquitted, he will go home tomorrow. The longer the trial it takes for the trial to take place, the longer he will be incarcerated, because they gave him bail conditions that are impossible to meet. I'm not sure even Dangote can meet those conditions, because they are so onerous. And they hung those bail conditions on the fact that they say he had jumped bail before. But he's claiming that, you gave me bail before on the same charges, you gave me bail. I didn't jump bail, but army invaded my house. I had to run out of fear for my life. I didn't jump bail. Do you understand? So this is the issue. He is saying he didn't jump bail. The police, prosecution, and the judiciary are saying, we can't trust you to show up to trial because we gave you bail before and you absconded. So for that reason, they've given him bail conditions that are impossible to meet, or maybe even no bail at all for this second coming around. So he's not going to get out without the conclusion of the litigation process, right? Unless, of course, a political solution comes forward, which I believe that's what that protest yesterday was all about. At the end of the day, let us resolve this issue and release him. Whatever negotiations has to take place, whether it is between the executive, whether it is between the judiciary, whether it's between him and his people, because he's agitating for something, which is our right by constitution as well. He's agitating that his people want to separate. The morality of that agitation is put aside. But the point is, his agitation is, we want an independent Republic of Biafra. And he has people who are bought into that vision with him. And that's what he was pushing for. Now, a case can be made for the fact that legally you have the right to agitate for separation. We don't want to be a part of the union anymore. We want to go our own separate way. You can't agitate for that. But the government is saying, in the process of his agitating for that, he was inciting violence, he was seditious, he was treasonous.
Treason.
They put all kinds of things. They just front-loaded all the charges possible in the world so that they can, restrain him and keep him quiet and keep him docile for now. So my sense is an agitation for a speedy trial will probably be the most effective means to bring this thing to a conclusion. Now, there are other ways. I mean, like I said, it can have a political solution, but either the government is not interested in pursuing a political solution, or maybe they've tried and they can't reach a compromise between both sides. So, in the failure of all other options, the best and fastest way right now is speedy trial. Let it come to a conclusion. That, I think, may have been or should have been the focal point of yesterday's protest, is bring him to trial. Let us carry out this trial. Let him come and give his testimony, and let a court weigh his testimony against the government's testimony, and let them adjudicate and decide. If he's not guilty, let them send him home. That's the quickest way as far as I can see.
In your view, would you say this present government has handled this situation brilliantly so far?
Well, when you say this present government, if you are talking about the executive, they've not been involved. They stayed out of the matter completely. So when you say handling the matter, sometimes not getting involved is also handling it in a way. So they've refused to get involved. I've noticed that the Attorney General hasn't spoken, the presidency hasn't spoken. There's been no comment about this matter beyond civil society and the judiciary that's handling the case. But of course, the judiciary is also part of the government, right? As is the legislature, as is the executive. So when you say how this government has handled it so far, I would say any and everything that is slowing down the carrying on of the trial. For example, I know that a couple of weeks ago, he asked for medical attention, that he needs to go outside and be treated. And the government or the judge decided that a team of doctors from the Nigerian Medical Association should come and examine him to determine his fitness for trial. Now, that delay was caused by him, because he's the one that's claiming, I'm too sick to go to trial. So if that caused a 2-3 week delay while the medical examination was going on, that's from his side. All the other things could have been from the prosecutor's side. So has the government handled it well? Look, anything that does not lead to resolution is not well handled. For us to say handled well, then it's resolved to the satisfaction of everybody. As long as it still remains an open sore on the skin of the country and an unresolved issue, then it's not been handled well as far as I can tell.
Looking to a second story for today, President Bola TINUBU via his Vice President Kashim Shettima declared at an event that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the National Judiciary Institute (NJI) in the last 2 years, his administration has enabled the anti-corruption agency to recover assets amounting to over 500 billion naira and secured more than 7,000 convictions. He attributed this performance to giving the EFCC independence and non-interference in its operation, emphasizing that no person or group affiliated with the government is being shielded. How credible are the figures in your view? Do you support what what is the benchmark to actually access what the president has said?
Well, it's easy to reel out numbers, and statistics and data. It's very easy to reel them out. But Nigerians are in a situation where they say numbers are meaningless. Show us these numbers. They could be true for all we know. But what we know is that we've not seen any convictions, because perhaps they are shielded from public view. We've not seen, the money that was recovered from 7,000 convictions, all the money that was recovered, where is that money and what is being done with it? Because, they didn't just convict 7,000 people. They recovered economic crimes. They recovered money and assets of value. So why don't we begin to see maybe publications in the newspapers of assets that's been seized? This much cash has been seized, these many cars, these many boats, these many flats that have been seized. And then we now see another column that says this and this and this is what has been done with the money. That's when we now have what we call full disclosure. But to just speak at a public event, speak it and say it into the air and not show any evidence of it, especially in a country where the trust quotient of the public to the government very, very low. It's at a very low ebb. to anything they say we take with a grain of salt if we don't see the evidence. I mean, we're still talking about the savings from subsidy removal. Where is the money? And the executive is saying we've passed it on to the state governors. Have we seen any improvement in the states? We haven't. So what's happening to the money? Some of the governors are saying, well, yeah, we are getting a lot more money, but the money is doing less because even though it's subsidy removal, there was a concomitant policy that made nonsense of the subsidy removal because that unification of the forex rate dropped the value of the naira. So you're giving me triple the money I used to get, but that money can only buy 1/4 of what it used to buy. So I was better off when I was collecting less money. So sorry, my state people, I don't have anything to show you. So that brings a painful feeling in the pit of the stomach that we're the ones suffering the effect of the fuel subsidy, and we're not getting any benefits from subsidy removal. And we're not seeing any benefit, whether from the federal or from the state governors. So, the EFCC, I think, is being run more professionally now. I like the guy who is there now. I have to be honest. I've listened to him. He's competent, and he seems to be a man of pure integrity. However, I think he likes the cameras a bit too much. I think he goes before the audience, before the public, and says a lot, a bit too much, but doesn't do much showing. He talks more than he sees, and people are tired of hearing. Show me. Okay, so you arrested somebody yesterday. First of all, what's his name? What position did he serve in the government? What did he steal? How did he steal it? How much did you collect back? What have you done? Where did you put what you collected? And what is going to happen to it? And when that thing has happened to it, can we see? So you seized 3 billion from a former director of one ministry. You seized 3 billion. You found 3 billion in his account. You seized it. Okay, so you've put it in the central bank. Okay, so that 3 billion is in the central bank. 2 years later, tell us what you did with the 3 billion. Don't say, oh, we just put it in the account and it mixed with all the rest of the money and we just use it for monthly allocation for FAC. No. Nigerians have got to a point where we want to know the nitty-gritty details. So, yeah,
the president claimed the money has been used for social investments program, though.
Do you know anybody who has ever received that money? Do you? I've never seen anybody who has ever said, oh, I got an alert from government in terms of since this new administration. The last I remember about anybody receiving money from government in terms of conditional cash transfer was during COVID palliative time, when they were actually helping people because COVID really decimated each and every family and household. That's the last time I remember hearing anybody who received money directly from government. So if they're saying they use it for social investment program, let us see. That's what I'm saying. The proof of the taste of the pudding is in the eating. We need to see. We can't continue to just hear alone.
The presidency emphasized that his administration has given the EFCC independence and assets, saying we are no shielding, no ally. From your experience, how much, or from your perspective, how much institutional independence do you think that the EFCC actually enjoys right now in the Nigeria of today?
Well, they are saying there are no sacred cows, but we all know there are sacred cows in Nigeria. There are some people who are above prosecution. That's the truth. Even if they were the biggest thieves in the world, they are beyond prosecution. So if this government is giving the EFCC more latitude, that is good. It's a good thing if they are. But I still believe that the EFCC is hamstrung to some extent, as long as appointed by the president, by the executive. I remember that at one point, one former governor was rumored to have said, if you join the APC or you join the ruling party, all your sins are forgiven. What that means is that the EFCC will look the other way, even if they know you are culpable and you are complicit in terms of embezzlement and corruption. So politically, the problem is there's political baggage that comes with every appointment. So as long as the EFCC chairman is appointed by the president, he has some degree of loyalty to the person who appointed him. He can never be totally independent. Same thing as INEC. That's why there's agitation that the INEC chairman should not be appointed by the presidency. Let a joint committee or a joint board picked from different sectors of society, of government, of industry. Let an apolitical group pick INEC chairman. Same thing, an independent, maybe financial ombudsman or something, so that even the presidency is not immune from investigation. Yeah, he has immunity, governors all have immunity as well. But one day we leave office, and if the EFCC is truly independent, nothing stops them from investigating the president after his immunity is over. But we ever see that happen in Nigeria? Just recently, we saw former president of France. We've seen former president of, I think, is it Japan. We've seen a few big name former presidents being in prison for things they did during their presidency. They were investigated afterwards. That's because their financial watchdog, right, has no affiliation to any party, to any executive, and had the freedom to be able to, the freedom and independence that this administration is saying is given to the EFCC. I saw just yesterday a former governor of one state who is currently under indictment. No, beyond investigation, he's been taken to court, charged to court, and is out on bail. I saw him praising the president, praising the executive, saying President TINUBU is the best thing since sliced bread and all that. And you know that, of course, he's trying to water the ground so that his trial will disappear and be forgotten about and nothing will come of it. He's in the same party as the president. There was a lot of hoopla before they were able to indict him and get him and charge him to court. At first, we thought, in fact, I assumed he would never get bail because he ran and hid in his state government's lodge in Abuja and escaped all sorts of attempts to bring him to come and answer the charges. And you would expect that if they are saying NNAMDI KANU absconded, this ex-governor did more than abscond. For months and months, he was thumbing his nose at the EFCC. He still got bail. So if he can get bail, why can't NNAMDI KANU get bail? What's the difference? Do you understand? So I'm not sure that the EFCC, in the current structure, can be totally independent. I don't think so. I think they'll still be subjected to political influence, political pressure, and I think their loyalty has to be definitely divided.
Having 7,000 conviction in 2 years suggests that there's a heavy workload, obviously. Do you think the EFCC and the judiciary can sustain, this pace?
The 7,000 convictions can never have been through trial. It's not possible. You can't humanly. 3,500 cases a month. I mean, a year for 2 years. That 3,500, if you divide 3,500 by 12, that's about 300 a month. That's about 10 a day. Do you know how long a trial takes? So they are mostly all plea bargains. The 7,000 conviction, plea bargain. Come, give us what you stole back. We give you a pat on the wrist and send you home. Give us what you sent back. Okay, you've been in jail for two months. Give us what you stole back. Go home. And of course, people give a fraction of what they stole for their freedom. So 7,000 convictions is a fantastic. A trial can last for 3 months. What with the defense, where the prosecution will present his case, rest his case, call witnesses, they will admit this into evidence. You know what the trial procedure is? Then the defense will present his case. There's no way in the world that they can have done 7,000 trials. But let's be clear. Conviction is different from trial. So I know a bunch of that 7,000 was through plea bargain, where maybe give us back what you stole, go home. And of course, Nigeria has been the smart people where we'll give a fraction of what we stole and we'll go home to go and enjoy the rest of it. So that number sounds fantastic to me, but I'm not saying they didn't get the convictions, but it didn't come through a process of trial whereby the person was found guilty of offense and sent away to go and pay the penalty. No, that didn't happen.
The president calls for collaboration between the executive, legislature, and judiciary in order to strengthen the fight against corruption. In real terms, what structural reforms would you say the president needs to prioritize in order to, make this collaboration meaningful?
That's a good one. Well, it's very tough because corruption has seeped into our very DNA, especially in the civil service. Even if all your political appointees are men and women of impeccable and unimpeachable integrity, the civil service is right, who are the ones running government. Within their ranks, there's already a culture of impunity, a culture of self-enrichment, a culture of impunity. And so it makes nonsense of every administration's efforts to try and sanitize corruption within the government, because mostly it's the political appointees at the top that are being looked at, not the people who are carrying the files and who are collecting bribes just to advance your file forward, who are inflating contracts. That does not happen at the upper echelon. It happens at the middle management level. And how do you penetrate that when you have the Nigerian Labour Congress, when you have all the unions who are agitating for worker welfare and worker retention and all kinds of conflicting interests. So I look at it and I say, well, how do the three arms cooperate? The legislature should pass laws. I think there are already laws on the books, but it's enforcement of those laws that are a problem. There's already laws on the books that prohibit every kind of bad behavior, but don't stop us from behaving badly. So, legislature should be more on the ball in terms of laws. Executive should be more on the ball in terms of enforcing those laws, because enforcement is for the executive through all the various coercive arms of government, EFCC, ICPC, police, army, SFIU, all the various units. Enforcement is for the executive. Judiciary, on the other hand, speedier trials. Let's start penalizing people who bring frivolous cases to the court, or who bring, or even if it's the government that charges you to court on something that is so blatantly unjust or erroneous, there should be a price for them to pay as well. So I think by and large, all of us as a people, all of us, not just government, but even us civilians, us the electorate, us the citizens, I think everybody needs to have a bit of a change of attitude in terms of our approach to wrongdoing. I think that we should begin to recognize more the fact that corruption harms all of us, because at the end of the day, it's the money that's meant for all of us that's being sidetracked into individual pockets. So we are the ones to blame. If every kobo that Nigeria has generated since independence, if every kobo actually stayed within government coffers and was deployed properly in service of the people, we will be a Dubai today. Even better than Dubai today, because we've got the resources, both mineral and human. We've got the resources. So it's the leadership that's always been the problem, and the fact that our commonwealth is not serving the commonality, but is being diverted to a lot of individual pockets. So we need to reorient our attitude towards loving each other more and caring about each other more, and let all of us equally enjoy the dividends of democracy, enjoy the bountiful riches that the Lord has
given to us,
bestowed upon us as a country.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure always.
That was Mr. Dayo Akitobi, publisher Ikeja GRE today, Lekki today, and Ilupeju today. Remember to follow us on all our social media platforms seen on your screen, and for up-to-date stories at our website at www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Until next time.